So up until now, everything in this Netflix series has been about understanding who we are, why this even exists, and how the service company creator business model actually works. But this episode is about proof, real proof, not just written reviews, AI generated headshot reviews. These are real people who worked standard 9-to-5s or were self-employed and simply took a bet on themselves to grow a real business. After this video, you can go to our interview section of the YouTube channel and watch some of the interviews for yourself. So you should by now have a very good idea of who I am and how this model works. And once you understand the model, the only question that really matters is, does this work in the real world? Now again, my name's Nathan Ellingham, and in this episode I'm going to break down real results from real people inside of the service company creator. And I'll move again to my whiteboard to break down simply how we help them achieve the results that they continue to get day in, day out in their businesses. You are going to see what this model looks like when everyday people apply it properly. We'll start with my client Curtis. Curtis recently landed a commercial contract worth over £100,000 and he's only been working with us 6 months. Not by reinventing the wheel, not by having industry connections, but by applying the exact framework you've seen broken down in this series: service selection, commercial positioning, and systems-led delivery. Then there's my client John. Now, John has won work anywhere from a few £100s up to £40,000, right up to pricing recently a £225,000 project, which I've got my fingers crossed for him on. Now that doesn't come from luck, it comes from understanding value, pricing properly, and operating at a commercial level instead of having a low ticket service mindset. And these aren't isolated cases. Alongside these bigger wins, you'll also see foundations being built by others. First contracts, consistent monthly revenue, and people replacing or supplementing their income in a way that's calm and sustainable to them. The important thing to understand is this: that the results aren't the goal. They are the outcome of the model that we've created. Once you understand how the system works and apply it consistently, the numbers just make sense and you can hit them with your eyes closed. So in this episode, we're going to break down what these results actually look like, how they were achieved, and why they are repeatable by anyone that wants to apply themselves to a business. And this isn't to impress you, but to give you confidence that this isn't just built on hype. So let's get into the results and how it all breaks down. I'm going to move across to my whiteboard and we'll dive in. So a breakdown of some client wins. Now, obviously we've had a lot of clients at the SCC and I want to give you kind of some expectations, some like kind of early wins. Everything that I talk about are realistic numbers. You know, I hate the online space where they'll tell you that you're going to do 100 grand a month in the first month or something like that. These businesses don't work like that. Yes, you can land really good work pretty quickly, but we have to have realistic expectations on building out one of these businesses. And this is where you need to be thinking long term. Yes, there are short term wins, 100%. Yes, we aim to get you to a certain point in the business and able to replace your salary and things like that. Okay, fantastic. But long term is where you can really have a mindset change and, you know, look to really build that sellable entity just like I did. And I'm going to break down a couple of examples with like one of my clients Curtis and one of my clients John. They're two like good examples where one was quite a domestic focus at the start, one was kind of really just focusing on commercial work straight away. So a bit of a difference, and I guess the mindset changes that they've had in growing their businesses. So realistic expectations. We set all of our clients a target of £5,000 per month in profit in the first 4 to 6 months in the business. So growing that business, £5,000 per month, that's where we want you at consistently, roughly about months 4 to 6. That is taken from an average client database that we have. So we know that's a realistic expectation for you to be able to hit. In the early wins of the business, we only want you to do £2,000 to £3,000 in profit in the first 6 weeks. Now, I know that's not a massive number, I appreciate that. But what it does, it shows proof of demand, it shows your proof of your contractors, that we're getting our contractors locked in, proof of delivery, we have the lead come in, you can deliver it, you can get your contractors to get the job done, we have client delivery locked in. This is all about proof. And then it also just gives you momentum into the business. It's like a seeing is believing kind of thing, if you like. We're still making money, we've still built out our business, we're still scaling our business, but a realistic expectation just to do 2 to 3 grand profit in the first 6 weeks in the business. That's it. This is where you'll see that I don't talk about crazy numbers. That might not be a lot of money to some people. It could be a lot of money to some people as well. But I think you'll see from this series, I like to think anyway, that I am authentic. I don't talk about crazy numbers or anything like that. This is about you changing your life long term and being able to replace your income and be your own boss, giving you all these freedom elements. So yes, there are monetary targets that we put in place. You have to. We have to have financial targets in place with the businesses, but I just don't talk about crazy numbers. So realistic 2 to 3K profit in the business in the first 6 weeks. Fantastic. That gives us all the proof that we need in order to then start scaling the business. So let's take a look at Curtis first. So basically Curtis was set up with local services advertising, had a bit of a domestic focus at the start, which was great. Didn't have loads of money to put into the business, everything like that, was absolutely fine. So we structure a lead generation system that is just going to start building up capital into the business. That 2 to 3K net profit, that's where we want to kind of be looking at to start building that cash flow into the business. LSA will bring in commercial work. Curtis did land commercial work, but we had quite a domestic focus. And he locked in his contractors. Contractors were brilliant. He had really, really good setup, good infrastructure, which meant he was able to start looking at scaling. And we did that in a steady process with Curtis. And you can watch Curtis's interview with me. There's actually a few of them. He's done some really kind of him to do some additional ones with me as well. If you look at his most recent one, you'll see that he's been with us 6 months. And this is the process that we did. We did it in a nice steady process in order to hit that target that we need to hit. So the odd commercial work was still coming through. He was still winning commercial clients, but he built pricing confidence. He got to the point that he was able to take a lead, take a call from a lead, or deal with a lead directly from whatever channel it came through, and he was able to price straight away. Now that is learnt through your contractors, knowing what your contractors are charging, knowing what markups you can put on, knowing where you're going to be at kind of in the retail market at the same time as well. So once Curtis had kind of developed this section here, okay, we got him up to kind of pricing confidence, had some commercial work coming through, he had good contractors, he had good systems in place, and he had good leads coming through the door as well. And that was mainly on a local services advertising strategy. Then we were able to have a discussion and kind of switch his mindset a bit to really looking at scaling the business now, because he was in a position to do so. So we switched to more of a commercial mindset and a commercial strategy. Curtis specifically integrated checker trade into the business, and we only used it for commercial targeting purposes. Now, he started to have more commercial work coming through. Off the top of my head, he did a pay-as-you-go with checker trade, which cost him £200, and he priced up 11 jobs, all commercial, and all contracts as well, if I remember rightly. Then, essentially, what he didn't do was he didn't invent kind of anything new. We just used all of the strategies that you would have seen from the previous episode, but we just added something else into the lead engine. That was literally it. There was a mindset shift because pricing and everything like that, we needed to increase, we want to improve those margins, focus on that commercial work. But all we did really was add something else into the lead engine. And there doesn't have to be massive fixtures, 1% better. We look at 1% better, we're going to be more profitable. So we didn't invent anything new. Curtis, let's do it this way around. So Curtis landed a commercial contract, a really, really big commercial contract in the end. It had a base value of £96,000 off the top of my head, and it will produce a lot more work. You'll see in the interview that Curtis says that we're probably talking over 6 figures for that one contract alone per year. and fantastic margins off the back of it as well. Because of this and because of the work that Curtis had put in, everything we'd implemented with the lead generation engine, the systems that he's got in place, the contractors that he got in place, Curtis dropped down to 3 days per week, went 2 days per week full time on the business. So what he is now going to produce will be incredible because he's now able to allocate more time into this business. So this is a really good example from Curtis of someone that kind of had a slower start, let's say, but there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Bit of a domestic focus, winning good domestic work, building up that capital into the business, switching to a commercial strategy, winning commercial work, and won a £96,000 per year contract off the back of his lead generation engine. And actually that lead come in within like the first 3 weeks of Curtis switching to a commercial strategy, which is just incredible. And you know, I'm using Curtis as this example, but there are numerous other clients who are sitting around this mark, which is fantastic. But this is a great example of that domestic to commercial strategy. So then I want to switch to John. Now, John was more of a commercial focus from the outset. So John came to us, he was running a sauna business, doing really well, and he come with a business partner. Now, him and his business partner, they decided to start the business together. They eventually went separate ways. One of them has more of a focus on domestic work, still does commercial work as well. But John was more focused on the commercial mindset, you know, really saw that commercial work. John's pricing confidence is incredible. It's absolutely fantastic. Really, really confident in his pricing, again, through learning. He's learned that himself with our help. And again, that commercial mindset has meant that he really wants to push that commercial work. I had a fantastic conversation with John a couple of years ago now. First ever call with him, he was inquiring about these businesses, watched this kind of content that you're watching right now. And I had a call with John and we just kind of went through everything to see if the business was a good fit for him, and obviously if I was a good fit and my team to actually coach him as well. It turned out we were a really good fit, thankfully, because he's doing really well. But I was discussing some of the jobs that I had done with John, and you know, John thought they were crazy numbers. He couldn't understand how I could price up Wimbledon for £75,000, the Ford building for in excess of £150,000, and numerous other jobs that come along like that. And there's a video where he says, you know, his ears lit up. But it was just getting him to understand like that work is out there, and he clearly found it. John has landed tons of work, absolutely loads of work over the last couple of years. But specifically, one that really springs to mind was a £40,000 job that he won. And it had massive margins. I think his contractor costs were in the region of £13,000. So huge margins on that, which is where this, you know, when I was discussing about the margins, it's not always 30, 50, 60, 70%. We could be talking 150%. And that can be done in the market. And that was just, you know, that wasn't even a one-off in the end. John's mindset shift to the high ticket and the real commercial work. We recently helped him price up a £225,000 job. It's absolutely huge. It's massive warehouses with painting, cleaning, tons and tons of stuff on it. I think there's a warehouse floor in there as well. He's already had a contractor quote for £100,000. So the markup would be absolutely incredible. This obviously breaks down into a number of different services within the service. So if you label it as cleaning, there's a number of different services on there that tally up to that £225,000 mark. But honestly, absolutely incredible. So a prime example of someone that has had a real commercial mindset. Started off with LSA, exactly the same, switched to more of a commercial strategy where he landed some good clients, and then he was targeting those clients directly to get more work out of them. So he actually hasn't done loads of lead generation. I don't think John's spending anything on lead generation right now, because the clients that he has landed are producing work. Work produces work. That's really common in our industry. So you don't necessarily have to always advertise, and John's an example of that, if you didn't want to. If John did want to scale, then he would be looking to add something into the lead generation engine, more than likely. So fantastic, 2 examples there, 2, really, really good clients of mine. And they're not the only examples, I'm using some of these names because they've done interviews with us, so you can at least go and watch them because, at the end of the day, not everyone wants to do a YouTube interview, which I completely get. Well, no issues with that. We do ask everyone because of the way that we operate at the SCC. We have to take on more clients because of the structure that we have. We don't do like a commission or anything like that. Profit share, we make sure that the business is 100% yours. So guys like Alex, Joe, Colette's up there, Anthony, Ismail, Stuart, these are all prime examples of people that are absolutely killing it in their businesses and using these types of strategies. Alex, as an example, started off with LSA, really good, same as Curtis, really good setup. He's got everything kind of locked in. Alex will be pushing to commercial strategies as well now. He'll probably integrate something like a pay-per-click campaign or a checker trade, something like that, because he wants to do commercial targeting. Ishmael, Stuart, Colette, they're all exactly the same. Colette's a fantastic client, really, hard working, work for the NHS. And again, Colette's someone that I've had to do a lot of mindset work with because I have to get her to kind of change the way that she prices to make sure that she allows for more margins and things like that. And that's a really good interview on YouTube as well. So this is realistic expectations in the business. You're not going to be pricing £225,000 jobs in your first week, but John's a prime example of someone that can do that. Curtis is another example of someone that can land. These figures on these contracts, they're out there all the time. Even a standard contract, standard 2-hour-a-day office cleaning contract can be £25,000 per year. And with the right margin, we're suddenly building up this incredible recurring revenue and this sellable entity, which is fantastic. We've just got to manage the contracts. So great examples, 2 clients there. Check out all of these YouTube interviews. They're all out there. Any questions around any of this, of course, just drop a note in the comments as well. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you can see kind of where we like to focus our clients and just a few examples of some of the incredible clients that we do have. I'll see you in the next episode.